All right, mind control frequencies. Part 2 is not the first time they did it to me in a video. I bumped the power button, shut it off. I was almost finished. So I hope you're hanging in there. That's a good way to get some people to not get all the information. All right, this is a map of ionospheric radar in the world and the frequencies they use. More. A lot of radar. And, you know, like Tesla's machine goes all the way around the world. See, there's some BS going there. They don't need all that. They just don't need it. There are the frequencies. Okay. Now, you can see them. I've seen them on something else, but it didn't give a whole lot of information. Notice that frequencies 1 through 400 missing because, you know, that's mind and body frequencies and world control frequencies. Mind control works at 110 according to the patent. If I can get it on this video like I was trying to get it on the first one. 110 megahertz actually. So, but that's still between 1 and 10 megahertz, 10 hertz. That's still like just over 1 hertz. So, 1 hertz is not on there, see. That's not an accident. This is just some quick information because anybody that's any good can freeze it or learn from it. This is what I was talking about. That's what it is in Alaska HAARP. Extremely low frequency. SLF, ULF, VLF, MF, all right, VHF, UHF. It's also AM, FM, Doppler radar. EHF, extremely high frequency. Terahertz frequency. So the ability to do all this stuff. See, you know, you still don't even see AM, FM. EU, NATO, and US designations. So look at this. See this big blank space? Now, if you understand the physics of the universe, there is a spectrum of radio band there too, but they're just not, oh yeah, there's nothing there. That's baloney, okay? That is baloney. As a matter of fact, if you understand an infinite universe, if the universe is infinite, this radio band extends like the number line, infinitely that way, and infinitely that way. So you pretty much figure there's something there. Isn't that interesting? All right. Bunch of stuff. Yeah, here's what I saw. It says 110 gigahertz. You don't see 110 megahertz anywhere on there. Okay? According to Robert Malik's patent, that's the one. Yeah. 3 megahertz. See? 110 is below that. Well, no, it's in that. 110 is in that. That's below, but 3 megahertz is below 3 hertz, see? And they say that HAARP is 3 to 30, and there's nothing below it. Well, that's below it. See what I'm saying? That's where they work the short band radio into it. Now, this is where I made that statement about Israel in the first video, being Big Brother. They have 23,455 radar sites. This is just where my dad led me, looking for the foundation, you know, the matrix. You see this? All these Tesla coils. This looks like a sideways radar. That's just an example. Look at this. There's a bunch of different radar sites. See, ours are uniform usually. There might be 2 different kinds. But there's a different frequency coming out of every one of these radars. What do they need all that for? Very curious. You know. Now, when I mentioned before about Stryker, typing in for disengage, for Wolverine, for Ryan Reynolds' character in Wolverine Origins, you know, there he is. That's what they did. That was actually MK Ultra. That's what they don't tell you. All the X-Men are what they were working on for MK Ultra. The movies are actually pretty historically accurate if you pay attention to what they're using to represent something else, you know. There was a Stryker. There still is, you know. Goldschmidt. Oh, no. What's his name? Gottlieb from the CIA ran MK Ultra in the 60s. You know, he was friends with Timothy Leary. Timothy Leary was actually an Army psychologist and wrote some of the code for behavioral science. I'm telling you, they took it out of Wikipedia. But he was actually a psychologist and wrote some books about it and this and that and the other. But Gottlieb gave, gave Timothy Leary the LSD at Berkeley. That was also part of MK Ultra program. And they would put it into Punch for the dead, the Jefferson Airplane, and everything else. And the CIA would watch the results. So what can I tell you? Here is the apparatus and method for remotely monitoring and altering brain waves. But let me remind you, what I was saying about that is that the LSD revolution was because of MK Ultra's scientific experiments and expansion. LSD was used as a truth drug for interrogations in World War II, and they experimented heavily with it. And that's I actually love the Grateful Dead, so whatever on the dark side of it, on the good side, there was a lot of good people, and just the best times in my life were there, to be honest. So, I can't say I'm glad he did it, but we made a good time out of it. Now, this is by Robert Malik. Okay. Notice Dome and Markland is the assignee. They build all kinds of radar. You can look that up. I should have saved that site too. Apparatus and method for remotely monitoring and altering brain waves. Read it for yourself. Now, the thing about this is, if you scroll down here, this in here is where it tells you 110 megahertz. Okay, see? High frequency transmitter wave signals through suitable coupling, the antenna, It's basically for voice to skull, it's a microphone, an oscillator, a transformer, and a radar tower. That's all you need to do it. If you scroll down here, hearing device. All right. This is Stockton. This is voice to skull. Stimulation of hearing in mammals by introduction of a plurality of microwaves into the region of the auditory cortex is shown and described. A microphone is used to transform sound signals into electrical signals, which are then in turn analyzed and processed to provide controls for generating a plurality of microwave signals at different frequencies. The multi-frequency microwaves are then applied to the brain in the region of the auditory cortex. By this method, sounds are perceived by the mammal, which are representative of the original sound received by the microphone. So, scientists have been driving people crazy with mental illness and all kinds of stuff for years just because they like to have fun with this thing. The only question is, do y'all work for the devil or y'all just like to do it? There's the guy that had the real voice of skull patent, those two guys. This is an upgrade because I think they're moving forward like this patent is really Tesla, the first one. They figured out how to do this on Tesla's machine. But what they do, I fear, is even if this gets discovered, what they're going to do over the next 100 years is erase this stuff. Okay? And then 100 years from then, or 10 years, 100 years from then when nobody's paying attention, they'll erase this stuff and it'll all be whatever God they choose to tell you did it, or Big Brother. They're slowly, because why would they bother to repatent this stuff? Because they're erasing the original stuff. All right? Now, let me move right along, so I ain't trying to bore you. It's not boring. This is what's the entire problem with the world. All our problems, the nasty food, the arguments, the wars, the weird stuff, the roads ain't paved, they can't seem like they can manage anything correctly. It's because it's done on purpose by people to control how people think. Even the ones that vote, they get, controlled. I mean, you don't have to believe it, but that's what's going on. If anybody wants to change it, we're going to have to strengthen our minds and hearts and pray and gradually do something about it, together. All right, here's another device. Changes in electrical current through magnetorestriction cause movements of a magnetic body. Dr. Einstein. You know what I'm saying? Goldschmidt. All right, another one. That's his patent. That's his patent for the voice to skull. Same as the hearing device here. All right. Marconi was big. Oh, here we go. Directed energy weapon. Here's the patent for a directed energy weapon. Now there are a few people on eBay that are telling about this. I mean on Facebook, but it's just really not known that the same weapon can be to change the frequency and they can control people. Now here's the heterodyne stuff. And then here's a super heterodyne receiver from Edwin Armstrong. All right. In 1918 is when he invented that. So that went right along with Tesla, the machine, the telegraphy towers in Berlin, Telefunken, Einstein, and everything. There he is again. This is a Marconi station. South Wellfleet, Massachusetts. They had these all up down the coast of Africa and Europe and the United States. The first wireless transmission was 1911, and you know what? That's the year that the Signal Corps got formed. Isn't that amazing? Well, I mean, we should have a Signal Corps, but I mean, you just want to make sure that there ain't any, behavioral scientist fruitcakes in there trying to mess up society. Crucial infrastructure in the early days of wireless communication. Guglielmo Marconi, all right? Einstein at the patent office, just to verify what I was telling you. Federal Office for Intellectual Property. His cobbler's trade turned out to be a stroke of good fortune because it was excellently paid and it was undemanding of his nimble intelligence. But he said it was his greatest inspiration. So the guy could sit there and read patents. There he is. All right, I'm going to roll through a bunch of pictures, and then that's the end of this video. By the way, here's Sidney Gottlieb. If you want to look him up on Wikipedia, you just better believe that the whole truth about that is not shown. He's got a book called The Poisoner in Chief that he wrote in like 98. But just understand that this is not even the tip of the iceberg about that guy. Or this guy, Timothy Leary. College of the Holy Cross, University of Alabama. He was in the Army. All right. I mean, the guy was busy, man. Then he got his PhD, medical psychology, University of California. Worked for the Kaiser Foundation. Directed psychiatric research at the Kaiser Foundation. So, don't be talking bad about Timothy Leary is what I would suggest. Man, people say he's crazy. They ain't read his bio. Man, shut the hell up. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. That's crazy. All right. This is one of my posts. And what am I supposed to see on this? Well, those were Einstein's towers. Okay. Obviously, I don't know if this is going to work very well here. I was trying to save some photos are from posts. Let's say more. I got a few different posts with Einstein. Now, this is Einstein. This is huge for Nazi conspiracy. I told you he had the tower in Potsdam, and he had a partner, Goldschmidt, and they had all those radio towers. Well, he was conveniently absent. It was 1923 or 1924. Yeah, 1923, when the beer hall push went off when they first got violent in Germany. He was conveniently over in Israel setting up the Hebrew University. Okay? Very convenient. Okay? And I don't think it's a coincidence. Oops. Okay, I think I'm getting some static from the NSA, to be honest with you. Okay, look, now that's gold. They said that's gold. That's how I communicate with them without words. You got to know what you're talking about. This is a Nazi gold in, man, I can't remember the name of the town. Some little district on the edge of Europe. It's not Tunisia. It starts with a T. But this is Nazi gold, and God bless whatever the people that they ripped it away from. That's not the point I'm trying to make. God bless them people. The point I'm making is this is the deep state, buddy. This is the deep state. If you think all that money got returned, you're nuts. If you think this is the only one, you're off the mark. Look at how it's money, gold, and jewels in there. And like, gold silverware and stuff. Anything that was gold and money and jewels and art. You look at the size of that cave. It'd be pretty hard for somebody, even the most honest person. I mean, St. Francis would have diverted money away from there for the monasteries. I'm telling you, when they were trying to load it up, he'd be like, yeah, throw a couple of them bags on the truck. No kidding. So when they talk about Nazi gold trains and the deep state, buddy, they had plans that you just don't know about. And, they are very much a part of the development of this technology. There's Telefunken in Germany, I had on the board. In the first part, I'm not going to kill y'all with, okay, maybe I will get some of them with information if I can't find it. But here it is. This is a wireless telegraphy station, too, in Nova Scotia in 1913. I had all these saved specifically to show on here. There's another Marconi tower or somebody's tower in the 1900s. And there's some of their equipment. They're just beaming frequencies through the air. I think that's Tuckerton, New Jersey, some of it. I think that's what that is. And that's where they sent Einstein to Princeton. He was right in range of 3 towers in New Jersey. That's another one. That's the one in Berlin, 1924, in the center of Berlin. I can mess with it because it almost just show you the Israeli radar. That's what it is. Okay, here we go. Boom, and I'll end with this. If you look at all these radar stations, 23,455 makes me very suspicious between the link between Albert Einstein and this technology. I think the Israelis are running our government from over there, big brother. We've been their army whenever they need something since 1945. They were buying land in Palestine before World War II. And then the UN, after the war, because of their suffering, gave them Israel, the land in Palestine. And you see they're trying to drive us off of it. And, if they're doing God's will, then I don't want to say anything, but I don't think they are. I think Albert Einstein wanted to screw over the Germans and wanted to keep secrets from us and gave them to Israel. And I think they see it sit over there in a big think tank somewhere, and they know how to do this stuff better than we do. And they play our military. I think they've played our military for years. All the conspiracy theories, even they want to blame our government. I actually think that any bad people, like say, for example, if there was anybody doing this at the NSA, I think there's somebody in Israel running them. And, I've been through a lot, so, the hell is y'all Facebookers want to say I'm full of it? I know because I've lived this stuff. And this is where the trail led. Who's got the most radar? What's the most important tool in mind control? It's radar. And who's got 100 pages of radar? Israel. Okay? There's that one I showed you. All those different frequencies from one spot. That's a command center. But what's underground right there? You don't know. They've been doing this a long time. I wouldn't underestimate them with all this radar if they are doing it. I'll tell you what. So, but I ain't here to crack on them because it's used by China, has Skynet. It's used by Russia. It's used by all the major states. And it's used by us. The only question is artificial intelligence, Echelon linked up with Skynet in China? Are they all linked together as Big Brother? That's the only question. And then if that is answered, and the answer is yes, there might be the question of what can we do about it? Because I miss the good old times when people were a lot more wholesome, shooting basketball. You go out to shoot basketball now, they had to take the hoop down because, people ain't trustworthy enough to go out there and shoot basketball anymore. It's just crazy. And I'll leave it at that. All right, mind control via frequencies, the development part 2. Y'all have a good one, and God bless you if you can.